So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Funding tends to be one of those tricky questions that we get from so many students. So we're excited to be able to present tonight on this topic. My name is Sarah Patrick. So I'm the Vice President of Operations and Academics at CBBC. And yeah, it's a beautiful summer evening. And thank you all for taking the time to join us. It's hopefully going to be a jam-packed hour or so of information, of quality information for you. I am going to just ask for a couple of housekeeping things right off the bat, that everybody remains muted unless they have a specific question. You're welcome to have your camera on and off, on or off. That is completely up to you. But just if you could remain muted while others are speaking, you do have the ability to ask a question by raising your hand. We'll do a short presentation and then we'll make sure we've got lots of time for question and answers. You can also add a question if you have one into our chat box that you'll notice along the toolbar on the bottom of your screen. Okay, so we'll get started. Funding your future. Money is always kind of one of those scary topics. It's a little hard to talk about, but hopefully we'll give you some good advice this evening. So choosing to get an education can be stressful, and finances play such a massive part in that stress. It's one of the biggest barriers that we hear from our students is, I really want to be able to go to school. I'm looking to create that life that I've always dreamed of, but my biggest barrier is, how on earth would I possibly pay for an education? How can I make that work? So there are quite a few options. We have a team of finance experts that are here with us this evening, and they're going to help you make that informed decision. They're going to make sure that they're answering your questions. If we don't get to every question tonight, we can do phone calls, emails, and appointments in the coming days, just to make sure that everyone has all of their the information that they need to make the best decision for themselves, because this is very individual in how you can proceed to reach your goals. So we have options such as student loans and grants, interest-free payment plans, RRSPs and RESPs, Nova Scotia Works, Indigenous funding, and scholarships. So these are just a few of the options, and we're going to talk about each one of these this evening. Okay, so the team that we have with us tonight, we have Denise, Emily, and Angelina, and they're all going to be able to provide some information for you. And then the other individual that we have here, and she's not on my list, but we also have Carol from our admissions team. So if you do find out that, hey, maybe there's some options here that could work for me, you can chat with Carol as well, and she can talk to you about the academic requirements for enrolling in programs, the programs that we have to offer, and those types of things, just so that you know all of the options that you have with CBBC Career College. Okay, so we are going to hand over to Denise. Denise, if you'd like to get us started and maybe tell us a little bit, just sort of a little bit of information about student loans, interest-free payment plans, and RRSPs and RESPs.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Denise. I am the financial aid officer for the Dartmouth and Halifax campus. So me, Emily, and Angelina are the finance team for CBBC. So I'll be starting discussing some of the options for funding. So one of the options is the student loans and grants. So for this kind of funding, you need to be eligible for it. You must be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. You will also need your SIN number before applying. You can only apply for a student loan to attend a designated programs. So when we said it's designated, so these are approved full-time programs that lead to a degree, diploma, or certificates. When applying for a student loan, make sure that you are applying to the province that you've been a resident for 12 months. We don't just help students, Nova Scotia residents, but other provinces, we do help them as well. So this application is done online, and you are applying for both federal and provincial loans. Grants are included. So those grants, you don't need to be paying it back once you finish school. One of the grants that they do offer is a disability grant. So if you are approved for this funding, one of the requirements is a proof coming from your physician. So make sure that you have those documentations. And also, if you are funded for a skills development program through Nova Scotia Works, you can still apply for a loan as a top up. So for this skills development program, Emily will be discussing that later on. Then last would be, if once you are finished for the program, repayment will start 6 months after school. So that's for the student loan. Let's go over the interest-free payment plans. So for students that saved money for their school and wants to pay it by themselves, we do offer a payment plan schedule. Those options are quarterly, monthly, and 2 payments. So other options that do fall under on this kind of funding are the RRSP, RESP, personal loans, and student line of credit. So we offer this payment plan schedule once the student is approved. So I'll be going over all of those lists one by one. So for the RRSP, or the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, a savings plan that are registered with the Canadian federal government that you can contribute to for your retirement purposes. So for this savings plan, you can use this also for your school. Next one would be your RESP, or the Registered Education Savings Plan, a savings account for parents who wants to save for their child's education after high school. So they won't be able to release the funds until their children are in school. And one of the requirements that the banks are requesting for it is a proof of enrollment, so which we will be providing those for you. Next would be student line of credit. So it is a product for students that helps them pay for expenses related to their education and also bid on their everyday living expenses. So for this line of credit, you only have to pay back the money that you borrowed. The difference for those interest from the student loan government offers and with the bank is that it may have a lower interest. So with a loan or your personal loan, you receive a set amount of money and have to pay it all back. So you also have to pay the interest on the total amount that you received. So for interest payment plan also, we do offer it also with international students. So we offer the same as what we do for domestics, which is monthly payment plan, quarterly, and 2 payments. So what we usually do is before the student starts the program, we give them those options, and they have they can choose what option best work for them. So that's it on my part, and I will let Emily discuss some of the other fundings that you can apply for.
So hi, everyone.
Thanks, Denise.
Oh, sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. Thanks, Denise. We will go into those further later. That was just a little taster. I know it's a lot of information, but bear with us, and you'll definitely get more information later on. Emily, would you like to talk to us a little bit about Nova Scotia Works, etc.?
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Emily White, and I am one of the financial aid advisors that works out of Sydney. So I work in Whitney Pier at the Jameson Street campus. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the programs that are offered at Nova Scotia Works, as well as some Indigenous funding and scholarships. So Employment insurance programs or the Nova Scotia Works programs, if you receive or have received EI benefits within the specified time frames per the specific program that you are looking into, you may be eligible for the following programs. The first one I'm going to talk about today is the Fast Forward program. In the Fast Forward program, you can attend an approved training program while you're receiving EI, but you are expected to pay for your own training. So if you qualify to receive student assistance funding, you could also, and you have an EI claim open, you can also apply for Fast Forward. Things like that will have to be claimed on your student assistance application, but you can receive Fast Forward while you are receiving additional funding from an outside source for school. So another great program that they have to offer is the Skills Development Program. So the Skills Development Program funds your living expenses through EI and also funds tuition and training costs. You may be assessed a client contribution amount, which would be your contribution. And for that, if you do qualify for student assistance, as Denise said, you are eligible to apply for a student loan for up to $2,000 to help you out with your contribution. The best thing about Nova Scotia Works is they have an amazing staff ready and willing to help you with the entire process. So to get started, reach out to an office near you. And if you would like some more information, I'm more than happy to help. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is some Indigenous sponsorships. So there are a lot of great programs out there that provide funding for our Indigenous students. For those of you that are currently living on reserve, you have access to the STAIRS program and the METS program. And to get started with that, you just contact your band office and they will help you out. For those of you who are living off reserve, there are actually a couple programs under the Native Council of Nova Scotia. And one of them would be APTEC and another one would be the Native Women's Association. So APTEC is the Aboriginal People Training and Employment. And what they do is they help you out with living expenses and they sponsor your tuition and they help you out while you're in school. And the Native Women's Association is under the same organization and they do the same thing and they are there to help out women. So those are a couple options for Indigenous funding. And if you guys have any questions about that, just reach out and I'd be more than happy to help. Another great funding source is scholarships, bursaries, and awards. So not a lot of people know this, but there are over $30 million a year in scholarships that go unused because people don't apply for them or they're not really advertised and you don't really hear about them. So there are some great resources out there. Ways to find out about scholarships are you ask people if you're currently in high school, ask people at your school, ask your family members, your neighbors, family, friends, whether they know about scholarships, because a lot of scholarships come from within your community. Whether it be, local banks, churches, other communities, things like that. So another great resource for scholarships is contacting your guidance office. And a lot of people don't know this, but even though you've graduated high school, you are still eligible to contact your guidance office and ask for things that are available to you. You can look online for scholarships. There's tons of resources. A great resource is scholarshipscanada.com. Another one would be studentawards.com. And also there's a lot of government scholarships that you can look at through the Government of Canada's website. So that's a little bit on scholarships. And I also want to touch base on funding through income assistance through employment support services. So if you are a recipient of income assistance, you may meet with a caseworker or an employment support services worker to talk about your work history, your education, and your training, and about what you want to do in your future. And then from there, your caseworker can help you put a plan together, and they can provide individuals with a wide range of both formal and informal career and assessments as part of their employability action plan. And they can also help you out with funding for school to improve your skills, to try out new areas, to to maybe try something that you've always wanted to do but was never accessible to you, and now you're finally like ready to go out there. They will help you out. They'll let you go into the workplace. You can have a little bit of an internship, mentorship, and then they will help you figure out your plan and help you get back to school. And for more information about that, you can visit the province's website. And we will have a link there. I will be able to provide a link for you. So if you want some more information, just reach out and I'll be able to get that to you.
Thank you, Emily. Much appreciated. Once again, I know that's a lot of information for everybody. It's quite a brief rundown, but the question and answer period is when we actually get to address your specific concerns. And we'll run through maybe some common scenarios and questions that we get as well, and make sure that you get the information that you're looking for. Okay. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so that we can all see each other. Anybody who does want to turn on their camera is welcome to do so. I am going to ask that if you do have questions, just in the interest of your personal privacy, maybe you don't ask questions that have specific numbers or give away any of your personal information, but we can talk in general terms. And if you need to, you can go into a separate room with Carol from admissions or one of our student finance team just to answer some more questions for you on a more personal level. Okay. So I'm going to throw it over to the floor and you can put your questions in chat, or if you have a question, you are welcome to come off of mute and ask that question. I'm just going to ask that if you do want to come off mute to ask a question, that you raise your hand first. Okay. I know it can be intimidating, guys, but we want to make sure that you get all the information that you're looking for. So we have a question in the chat right now. Are there any programs that are not eligible for Canada student loans?
At the moment, no. All our programs are eligible for Canada student loans.
Okay, great.
And also, like for Canada student loans, actually, some of the provinces, some of our programs are not yet registered on their end. So we need to register it to them first before they can approve the student's loan. So that's easy.
Josh?
Hi, how are you guys today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. My question is also regarding the CCA program. I do know that the government of Nova Scotia is funding that course. My question is, would I still be eligible to apply for student loans?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Yep, you are eligible to apply for student loans to help you out with your living expenses while you're in school.
Yeah, that's exactly what the question I was about to ask. Okay, thank you for the information. So do I just get a hold of?
Yes, you can just reach out to us at any time. We will help you
Okay.
process your application.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Josh.
So we have some questions in the chat. Are international students eligible for scholarships? Denise.
Yes, they are. There's a lot of scholarship that do offer scholarship to international. I usually help them also search for it, but it's a lot if you search online. I'll give you all, I can search some information and we'll be happy to send it to you.
Are there potential assistance avenues for an older student who is underemployed with no savings and not the best credit? Looking at something like maybe the medical office administration program. Emily, this might be a strong one for you since you have a little bit more information on the various like other funding options, alternate funding options.
So is it in regards to specifically, like, are you wondering if there's more options within student assistance or in the broader term. So with student assistance, there are actually grants available for more mature students who are going back to school. And with skills development, they don't have specific grants, but they do assess everyone on an individual basis based on your needs. And so there are certain things available to you depending on if you are a newer student or more mature student, whether and based on your current situation. And I will put out there that student assistance does do credit checks for students who fall under independent status. And sometimes you do get a notice back saying that you have a restriction due to a credit check. And, you know, sometimes things like that can be discouraging. However, there are ways around that. Student loan actually provides you with a document to let them know what's your current situation, you know, and to kind of provide them a more personal insight that's not seen on a CRA report. And that can also, and once you submit that, then they can then assess your application and review you based on that, not based on your credit. So I don't want anyone to think that having a not so great credit score is a reason that they can't go back to school, because there are ways, there are things out there. And even if you've hit one bump in the road, there are things that you can do to get over it and continue on with the process.
Is assistance with the CCA program still available if you are currently working not on EI or assistance?
Yes. So if you are currently working and looking to take our CCA program, you are still eligible for a student loan to help you out with all your living expenses. And we are here to help you with the entire application start to finish and provide you with some more insight on what a student loan for living expenses would look like if you would like some more information on it. So just because you're working and the program's government funded doesn't mean that there's not something out there for you.
Question. Susan is living at home with her parents and wondering if there might be funding for her to go to school. She's working part-time, but doesn't have any savings for going to school. What's her best option for funding? Is it student loans or are there other things? So student as 19 years old.
So she can apply for a student loan if she's 19 years old, because while Emily was discussing, there are specific requirements to be considered an independent. So she will be considered as an independent. And good thing is there are grants also that offers her to give extra on her living expenses to pay for tuition, books also.
Excellent. Going to make sure that we answered that. Perfect. Okay. We did have some late joiners. So just to recap, we did a little bit of a synopsis of the different options available for individuals. And now we're going through any specific questions that people have that relate to their circumstances, just so that we can try to help people understand what might be open to them. So some common questions that we do tend to get is if, just going to go back to speaker view, and that just gives everyone anonymity. So some common questions that we tend to get are, you know, single parent, maybe 2 children, you know, looking for some options that would improve their lifestyle and you know, kind of build towards more of a future for themselves and their children. Emily, if what sort of Nova Scotia programs are available? Is there best bet student loan, or are there other options?
So for a single mom with 2 children, both, if she has, if this mother had opened up an EI claim within the last 60 months, skills development, great option, and student loan, a great option. One of the reasons why I would kind of guide this mom towards skills development is because skills development actually can help you out with things like daycare, obtaining subsidy, all those types of things that might be looming over you and take into consideration when you're trying to go back to school. So for this particular situation, neither student loan or skills development is better, but I would kind of guide my student towards skills development just because they can provide her with more support, especially when it comes to her kids. Just because, you know, if they're younger, she might need that subsidy help. She might need that help with daycare. And student loan does provide living expense help, but with skills development, this is specific money that goes towards daycare. So that's what they provide. With student loan, you're provided with your living expenses, and then it's up to you to budget it. But with skills development, they kind of take that budgeting out when it comes to childcare and trying to obtain it. And Nova Scotia Works is great to help with you trying to find subsidized daycare and things like that because they work so closely with your specific community.
Excellent. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Got a couple more questions coming in here. If I do take a student loan, how do I repay that student loan? Denise, do you want to speak to that one?
Yes, for sure. So repayment starts after 6 months after you finish school. So National Student Loan Center will be the one who will reach out to you when your payment is due. So there are different provinces also that consolidate. So for us here in Nova Scotia, it does not consolidate. So there's if a student applies here, 2 payments will be deducted on their account. Some of the provinces that do consolidate loans are Newfoundland, Ontario, which they only take 1 payment every month.
Thank you. What if I, maybe I don't have quite the income expected right after I finish school? Are there options available to me? Because I've heard that student loan payments can be fairly large.
Yes.
So what would that look like if I just needed, if my student loan payment was supposed to be $150 a month and I wasn't quite comfortable enough yet to make that size of a payment? Are there options?
Yes, for sure. So for provincial, for us here in Nova Scotia, we do offer interest relief or the zero interest. So basically, this kind of program, you need to apply every year and make sure apply it before your payments are overdue. In regards now on the federal part option, they do offer that RAP system, Repayment Assistance Program. So basically, they will be checking your family size and income. So if you are on the low income threshold, they will be offering you either holding off your payment for 6 months or just giving you a little bit of amount, basing it on your monthly salary.
Thank you. And then another question I have coming in here is, if I'm going to school and I've used student loan, can I work while I'm in school? And is there a cap on how much I can earn?
Okay, so for student loan, you are still eligible to work part-time or full-time. It's just that at the end of it, it does affect your loan. But good thing is, if it shows that you have the salary that you are receiving during the program is less, possibility also is that they will increase it.
Okay, excellent. And then can I apply for skills development, Emily, if I have only collected CERB?
You absolutely can. So if you've only collected a COVID relief benefit or a COVID emergency response benefit, you are still, that was still an active claim through Service Canada, and you are still eligible to apply for skills development.
Excellent news. Okay, and we've got another in this chat. What is considered low income?
So considered low income is less than 25,000. It really depends on how you will be giving that information to student loan. Student loan can work with you guys if you are really having a hard time paying back that monthly payment.
And then, do all forms of student funding check credit scores? Are there any forms of student funding that do not check credit scores?
Skills development does not look into your credit score.
Skills development does not look into your skills. Okay, that's good
And
information.
And most of the times, income assistance and Indigenous sponsorships will not be checking into your credit score. You get your credit score looked into when you're applying for things like loans. So student loans, lines of credit, things like that.
Okay, excellent news. And then we had Josh, I believe you have your hand raised.
Yep. I just have a question. What exactly is that skills thing that you guys are talking about?
If you have had an active EI claim within the last 60 months, you are
Okay.
eligible to contact Nova Scotia Works in
Okay.
regard to skills development. And so what skills development is if you had tuition fees, they are eligible to help you with up to $10,000 tuition fees.
Okay.
And what they also help you out with is things like equipment, travel, living allowance, childcare, they really go into the specifics. They can
Right.
even help with things like Wi-Fi bills for those students who are attending distance. So they offer a lot of supports that normally you wouldn't take into consideration and think that there was supports to help you out with.
Right.
And they are a great resource. And Josh, you can actually contact the Nova Scotia Works office near you,
Okay.
and you can actually meet with a case manager at any time to get more information. And if you would like, I could find the closest one to you and reach out to you and follow up tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be great if you don't mind. I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Emily, do you have any common questions that maybe you get asked sort of day to day when students are coming to see you on campus?
One of the biggest questions I do get asked is regarding EI while in school. So a lot of people, when they go back to school, if you are on EI, you will run into the issue once you file your next report. You'll have to say I am in training, and a lot of people run into problems there because EI is not there to fund you while you're training. So I do get the question all the time, can I get EI in school? And the answer is yes and no. So sometimes depending on your on your individual situation, you can receive EI in school, but that's not always the case. And that's when I often refer my students to Nova Scotia Works to chat with a case manager about Fast Forward. And that is a way for you to obtain that EI while in school. So that's one of the basic ones that I get asked all the time. It's a good question. I think that a lot of people would think about it, and it's hard to kind of get an affirmative answer, but it's a gray area. It's a kind of a yes and no, depending on the route that you take in your individual situation.
So we do have another question in the chat. What are the requirements to apply for a student loan? Denise, do you want to address that one?
Yes, for sure. So one of the biggest requirement that they are just asking is if you filed for your income tax last year. So if you did not, they will not process your application or they will decline your application.
Just to add to Denise there, you actually can't even move past the question on student loan. If you have not filed your income tax, you are not going to be able to even complete the application.
Is there anything else that we need? So I filed my taxes. What else do I need to make sure? So if I am applying for student loan, do I need photo ID? Do I need consent from anybody to apply depending on my age? Information on my children, their ages? What other sorts of things might I need?
So for student loan, if a student is considered still a dependent student, they'll be needing some personal information from their parents. So that would be their SIN number, their annual income, and their company that they're working for.
Okay, excellent. And then a question in the chat is, will my student loan money be sent to me or to the school? how do I access the money that I have been granted from student loan?
So for student loan, the money goes to the school first, which we take out their tuition. Books, we are not allowed to. So once the school confirmed your loan, it will take 6 to 10 business days before you will receive the extra amount.
Okay, excellent. And then what if my student loan doesn't cover all of my tuition or books?
So actually, those are one of the questions although some of the students are asking me. So if their student loan doesn't cover their tuition, we do offer that payment plan set up. So it's still the same. We offer that monthly, quarterly, or 2 payments. And also we help them look for bursaries that they can apply for.
Excellent. Thank you. Denise, what are some common questions that you get in Dartmouth from our students?
So most of the questions that they asked me before they start the application are what other grants do student loan offers. So a while ago, the only grant that I discussed is about disability, but there are more in grants that they offer. So every time a student applies, they base it if they have their income, if they have children, and also for in regards on those children, if your children are below 12 years old, grants will be approved for you. They also base it, one of the question are transportation also. So if they see that you're too far from your school, they give extra amount also for that. Most of the students that I help, it automatically gives them a Nova Scotia student grant. So all of the students that are applying, they are automatically have Nova Scotia student grant.
Excellent. Excellent.
And an amazing thing about the student loan application is you are not there filling out application after application for each and every grant. It's
Yes.
one time and that's it.
Yes.
Excellent news. That does make it a lot easier and more
Yes.
streamlined, right?
Yeah. And the good
individual application for everything.
Yes. And the good thing for the loan is if ever the student is applying through their province, it's the same questions. So much easier.
Oh, that's nice. That's absolutely nice. Okay, let me just check. So we do have a request. Can I access the recorded webinar as I came in late? Absolutely, you can. Someone has asked, are you implying that international students are only eligible for grants and scholarships? No, they are not only eligible for grants and scholarships, but you wouldn't be eligible for Nova Scotia student loan until you had lived in the province and were a permanent resident. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And how long do you have to live in the province? 6 months, Denise?
Actually, for student loan, it's really not, for international student, they are not allowed to apply. They need to be a permanent resident.
Okay.
Or Canadian citizen.
And
Okay.
just to add to that, for skills development and things of that nature, you just need to be a resident of Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Sorry, just giving me a moment to go through the chat here. See what else we've got before our time runs out. I am not working and have not filed my taxes. Do I still qualify for any funding?
So if the student, if he or she is a permanent resident or Canadian citizen and did not yet file for his income tax, he can still apply for a student loan. It's just a matter of that they will hold off the application until you submit that.
Take another look in the chat. We are almost out of our time. My parents do have an RESP, a registered education savings plan. Can I combine it with student loan?
Yes, you can. Like Actually, we have past students that did have RESP and still applied for the loan. So what they did is just once we confirm the loan, the money all goes to the student, and they have the option to whether return back the loan and just take the grants, and or maybe can help still for their living allowances.
And the student loan application does actually give you a chance to let them know about your RESP or RRSP.
Yes.
Excellent. Just check. We've got another question coming up. Would you please give us a simulation about loan amount and monthly payment after 6 months after graduation? So what might that repayment look like once I have graduated?
Actually, that is another question that some students are asking me. I usually tell them to reach out to student loan, because once the student is finished with the program, NSLSC will be the one who will set up that for you.
When you are, so you can actually go into your National Student Loan Service Center account, and there is an option to go in there and set up your repayment. And you go in, you select your methods, and you select a way to repay that works well for you financially. You know, it works well for them, they'll get their payment, but it will also work well for you in your current individual situation.
So are we able to talk a little bit about a scenario? So if I was granted a student loan for, say, $10,000, is there sort of a standard repayment that I would be looking at, like a standard monthly payment that I might expect?
For National Student Loan Center, they will be the one who will be processing that. Usually they don't give a specific amount or monthly payment set up. They will be the one who will reach out to the student. That's between them and the student. And yeah, while Emily told you a while ago, if the monthly payment that they set up for you is not good, just log in on your account and submit an amount that best work for you.
Okay, so really, it's very much individual. It's
Yes.
not based on the amount of money that was loaned, but your individual circumstances after 6 months after graduation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's not just like okay, you get $10,000, now you have to pay it back at $200 a month. No one necessarily says that.
Yes.
And what's the time period that we usually have to repay that loan?
Just trying to think back. I do believe when you, within the province of Nova Scotia, when the province reaches out to you through Resolve, they actually send you a letter with a base payment amount within the time frame of, I do believe their time frame is 9 to 10 years.
Okay, so excellent. So even if it's $10,000, when we're spreading that out over that time, and there is interest with loans.
Yes.
That's, that is a fact. There is interest to be paid, but at least if it's $10,000 over 10 years, you can imagine that the monthly payment would not be excruciating.
And like if ever the student has extra money, she can still pay more than the amount that is set up for her.
Okay, excellent. And do you happen to know what the current interest rate, because I think federal and provincial actually have different interest rates for repayment right now. Yes. Do you happen to know offhand what those interest rates are?
So for now, for the federal part, it's between 2.75 to 5%, but it's still on hold until March 2023. So we're not sure if they will still extend that or not. For the provincial, I think that's 0.5% every month.
Okay, so provincial interest rate right now is 0.5% on the principal.
Yes.
And on the principal. And the federal is actually, they're not charging any interest currently until March 2023.
Yes.
And then we'll see if they still kind of maintain their generosity after that point.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I would just, it's not related to the interest rate, but I would like to put out there that until 2023, the Canada Student Grants are actually doubled. So now's the best time to get in there and get your student loan and,
Yes.
And I don't believe that generosity will be extended any further than 2023. So get it while you can.
Yeah. And then we have one last question in the chat. Can I take aesthetics and cosmetology and have both programs funded, or do I need to go back for a second student loan?
Yes. So one program, one application.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate having your time with us, being able to answer your questions, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out to anyone if you need a little bit more information, and we'll follow up with you as well, just on those few individuals that we promised we would send some information to. Okay, thank you so much for your time this evening.